video better than in the past. So we both got green screens here. We're on the screen. So
Yeah, it's pretty
baby
professional.
steps.
Okay. Yeah.
So, well, without further ado, I think it's time for a couple introductions here. So, obviously, I'm a new face for many of you longtime viewers. My name is Joe. I'm with Coinigy. Been here for coming up on about 5.5 years, coming up on 6. And I'm in charge of marketing and business development. So, those who have interacted with us on social media, it's most likely been me responding to you. So you can kind of put a name to the face there. And then obviously we got Brian, our guru.
Okay. I don't know whether I'd go with that. I'll try my best. I've got a couple miles under my tires. That's what I would say. I think probably a few people that we have there in the audience on the YouTube page are actually TRI vets. I recognize a few people. One thing I might ask is if you look at the OBS, I see another person said Brian's audio sounds distant.
Yeah.
Do you have my volume turned up to the highest on OBS? Like it should be like audio input. You should see a little thing going, and it's at the maximum, is it?
Correct, it is.
Right, so it just means I gotta talk louder, that's all. Welcome everybody, especially for the Coinigy audience who might remember me. We used to do these Bitcoin and Altcoin trading talk shows years ago with Will, and we'd have guests on every now and then. You probably remember that moniker. I don't know whether that rings a bell or not, but we had a lot of fun. In fact, Joe was telling me he was going through some of the old shows, and I think he said Litecoin was at $1.
Yeah, it was nostalgic. So
and tell him what Bitcoin was trading at that point.
$233.
Ay, caramba!
Yeah, so
Back time, eh?
if only. But hey, we're still here. We've been through some bear markets and bull markets since then.
All right.
Gotta
so
fix Brian's audio.
Says, hey, you guys gotta fix Brian's audio. You can't do a whole show like that. It's really bad.
All right.
You're killing me. Brian's volume is way too low. All right. What are we gonna do here, Joe? What do you think we should do?
Giving it a shot. Let's see. Properties here. Okay.
See, the thing is Joe's running OBS on his side, and
yes.
fortunately, I just I'm actually just participating.
Yeah, first time using it here. So let's see, audio filters. Let's see, expander. All right.
Right now, test. A little better? Any better? Tell us, you YouTube audience.
I just added an expander. And
it might just be, they're saying nope.
Nope. All right.
Maybe you might even turn your microphone down on OBS a little bit. And then that way, just as long as we're level. Yeah, so Adam says Will, and it's not Will, it's Joe. But, East blow
all right.
going to blow past 2K resistance. Wow, there's a statement. All right. So, maybe turn your volume down a little bit.
Yeah.
And do a test.
All right. I just turned mine.
What we really want is just to see if we can get the volumes the same.
All right. So you said
test.
All right. So it's doing it for both. Give me 1 second. Sync balance. Brian.
Brian is super quiet. So
yep.
Graham's also saying that Brian is super quiet. I don't think there's a heck of a lot I can do on my end.
Yeah. Sources. Bear with us, guys.
Grim, you see in the lounge there, I don't know, or in the YouTube chat, I don't know whether you see that or not, but he is actually our level 1 instructor.
Oh.
And he's a OBS whiz as well. I really don't have a problem if we want to. We could invite Graham in here, and he might be able to give you some feedback as to how we could fix this.
Wonder
but
if
anything. Welcome. This is Joe's trial by fire. Right?
Yeah, I wonder if just turned up the volume on my computer. I wonder if it can.
Test. Tell us, has my audio gone up at all, Adam? What do you think? Am I still too quiet? Graham? Actually, interesting. Most of these guys are on the West Coast with us here. So,
All right, that's better. So I just turned up the volume on my computer. All right.
Oh, now he says you're good.
Let's go.
There you go. Look at that. You got a little dance there. Way to go.
Yeah. Background hit.
Okay, now Grim's saying there's just a background hit.
I think that's my
better than it was before.
Yeah. All right. That's a background noise. I think that's just the computer fan.
So now you guys have an appreciation for how much work I put into these videos, week in, week out. Doing it with Paul and Ben and Nick, and everything just goes smoothly on the daily briefs and stuff. This is tough work.
It is.
Here. Grim says if you applies a noise gate filter at default to your audio, it should filter out the noise.
All right, I like that. Sources, audio.
And then I suppose you could always hit just Control-Alt-Delete, right? Isn't that how it goes? Don't do that. Don't do that. So he's like, no, don't do that. Do they still have Control-Alt-Delete built into these things? I haven't done that in forever. That was when Joe. Do you remember computers when they used to have like the blue screen of death?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you remember that?
Let's see. All right.
Anyway, I'm not running the show, so it's sort of like
I know, guys.
I'm not on the hook. Phew. This has been a long time since I've had somebody else run the shows. Ryan Williams says you could probably turn Brian up a bit more too. He's still a low.
All right. Just
okay. So if you got the audio filter on there, it might filter out the fan noise.
Yeah.
Any better, folks? What do you think? How are we doing? Brian is super loud now. He can't win.
He can't. Okay, audio's
now
nice.
Grim says Brian's audio is nice now.
All right.
But what we really want to test is Joe and my audio the same, right? So test.
Yes, let's see. All right. That's good. Thank you, guys. We appreciate your assistance.
There we go. And, our community is awesome. If anything, I'd almost want to maybe invite some of them in to contribute as time goes by. We might even invite some of them in. They're really, really good traders. Like I said, actually, interestingly enough, Grim probably remembers the bad shows. I think he joined us, 2016, 2017, somewhere in there. Maybe even earlier than that. So, okay. And yeah, there you go. So a lot of people have told me over the years, Joe, that the way that they have found TRI and the way they came to me was through these shows. And actually, you see there, Joe.
Noise gate. I found noise gate. Here we go.
Oh, good.
All right.
So I'm doing the color commentary. It's giving Joe opportunity to see if he can get things fixed.
Yeah. All right.
Any better?
Does that help out, guys? I did the noise gate at your default to audio, and it should filter out the noise. So it is default, so should be filtering that out.
Give us some feedback here, peeps, please. Didn't seem to do it. Dang. All right. Tolerable.
All right, we'll take it
For a first show.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
This is
Some sort of hiss or something.
Yeah.
So, if anything, I think, Joe, what we
Yeah.
need to do is
yeah. We
maybe
appreciate
plan
that.
over the
Grim.
next week or something to get together, and
Definitely.
we'll do another one of these things, and we'll just sit and mess around together until we have it licked. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, without further ado, we appreciate your patience, and we will get started now.
Sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I consider this part of the show.
Yes.
We're having fun. You guys are learning how social media works.
Yeah.
All right, so maybe Joe, I think it's Brian's mic, is it? I don't think it's my mic. I don't hear any sounds on my end. Anyway, we're just going to deal with what we have right now. And Joe, I think, did you give him a nice little intro of who you are and where you come from? I think I heard you do.
Yes.
Right.
I was. I'm going to quickly just add the noise gate to Brian's mic too, and we'll just see.
Oh, okay, yeah, you can add it. Oh,
All right,
I see.
add it to Brian's too. So before I was
Ooh,
trying
there
it
you
on
go. Any
mine.
better,
So
guys?
now it's the
Any
moment of
girls?
truth.
I don't know whether we have any ladies in audience this evening, but maybe. I know we've got a couple houseplants. Do you identify as a houseplant, Joe?
Just might. I got a couple
this
sitting around here.
All right. Okay, so I'll give you my sort of background spiel, especially for the Coinigy audience if you've never heard of me before. Actually, I think I have my Twitter feed on me. A little bit of a cheeky image. I've been involved in crypto since basically 2013, I guess. I bought my first Bitcoin officially, I guess, about $200-300, probably around that price that you were talking about in the videos. For TRI, we started up a demonstration portfolio officially. And that's what this tweet is. If you come to my Twitter feed, CR Investor, that just simply stands for the Canadian Rational Investor.
I'm glad you said that. I was curious when I tagged you. I was like, what's the C? So
yeah, there you go.
Makes sense
so I'm
now.
Canadian. Don't hold it against me. But the reason why I had to do that, this is kind of a funny side story. But I actually started up the Rational Investor back in the 1990s. And there was a gentleman, ironically enough, out of Minnesota, which is interesting, who also called himself the Rational Investor. And back in those days, everything was done through newsletter and through the mail. So he had a newsletter called The Rational Investor, and this internet thing was just starting out. And he actually threatened to sue me, and he was going to send the lawyers and the whole thing. And so I changed my name to the Canadian Rational Investor. And it's interesting, when I got this up and running, this was actually I started this experiment with Twitter and stuff like this actually before the days of me participating in Bitcoin. I suppose Bitcoin started in 2008, but I wasn't really with it. And in actual fact, I wrote my own site, taught myself PHP, HTML, JavaScript, CSS, MySQL, everything, just taught, all self-taught. And we affectionately on the site called it the 1980s website because it smacks the 1980s, neon colors and the whole thing. And I was a retail broker at the time, actually, interestingly, I left the retail brokerage business and transferred a couple of my larger clients. They were sort of $1 million accounts. That's when Interactive Brokers was just getting going. and we ran a little mini hedge fund out of my home. My wife, rest her soul, Jojo, she passed away in 2011. She was quite ill, and we actually had a son together in 2000. And Liam was diagnosed low functioning ASD in 2003. And so it was a convenient coincidence that I would leave the brokerage business in 2006, 2007. I managed these larger accounts through Interactive. We did a small hedge fund together. And I looked after Liam and Jojo. And unfortunately, sadly, of course, Jojo passed in 2011. Actually, I was even talking about her today. I talk about her every day. She is my life. Yeah. But I look after my son now with the help of a number of different government agencies. He's 22 years old now, so he's a big part of my life. Super motivator. If you're ever on the site or you watch any of my videos, you know I make reference to Liam. In fact, we were doing one of these sort of crypto shows recently, once a week basis with a couple of site members, and one of our site OGs, Ben, at the end of every show, he would ask everybody to send best wishes. Thursday afternoons, I am with Liam, and I take him out into the Lower Mainland, which is where I live in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And we have an afternoon adventure, and I always ask everybody to wish me luck and good karmic thoughts. And I'll tell you, when I do that, and you guys do wish us best wishes and good luck, it really does make a difference. I really honestly think it does make a difference. Those karmic best wishes do make it to him. So that's a little bit about my life. I've worked in and around the investment industry I got my first job in the industry in 1988. So that's how long I've worked in and around the brokerage business. Gotcha. If anything, Joe's probably getting to know me now.
I am. So thank you for sharing that. Obviously, just getting to know each other, because this is our first show, and there'll be some more repertoire as we continue these shows. We'll keep building on these. But yeah.
In fact, actually, I was telling you there, Graham, in the YouTube chat there, he's our level 1 instructor. He's actually down in Oregon. He's probably right around the corner from me.
Probably, yeah. And
actually, I have a funny story about Salem, Oregon. I was the first time I was pulled over by a cop. He thought I had stole the parents' car. We had drove from, I used to live in LA, and we drove from LA up to Expo 86. That was the first time I came to Vancouver.
By 5.
And I was driving around in our fancy schmancy auto, and the cop decided that I had lifted the car in Salem, Oregon. So that's my memory of Oregon.
Where the state capitol police are. I used to make that drive up and down. I was coached lacrosse at University of Oregon the past 2 years. So I was making that commute from Portland down to Eugene a couple days a week. But no more. That was too much of a time commitment there. But yes, I'm familiar with that drive through Salem.
I got, and actually, I learned, I didn't even realize this. The Simpsons? It was actually based out of Oregon.
Yep, Lincoln. Yeah, so the creator's from Portland, Oregon. So right down the street from where I used to live in kind of more downtown Portland, there's a street, Flanders Street, and they just put in a bridge, and there's like a plaque next to it that's got Ned Flanders' face on it. It's like, hey, diddly ho, neighbor, like, welcome to my bridge. So there's a lot of references throughout Portland, and that the creator had like put in the Simpsons. Yeah, and I know like
I just learned that about 5-10 years ago.
Yeah.
So, that's interesting. So it is also interesting too how we have a sort of a West Coast bent here. We don't need those guys from the Midwest. Everybody on the West Coast, we're the Midwest.
I'm from Wisconsin, so
you are from Wisconsin.
That's how I start. So how I started at Coinigy was a my senior year, we had to do. I double majored in marketing and entrepreneurship, and one of my classes for my capstone classes, we had to do pro bono consulting work for a startup in Milwaukee area. So that's where Marquette University is. And I was like, oh, I've heard of Bitcoin before. Like I've traded here and there and just dabbled with it. Um, and then, ironically, as I first heard about it because kids on my floor my sophomore year were buying fake IDs with them with Bitcoin. So that was my like first experience of like hearing about it. I was like, what is this concept? So then I actually like looked into it some more, and then the next couple of years I'd gotten a little more into it, and then I was like, oh, I know about Bitcoin. Like this company's in Milwaukee. Let's reach out to them. At the end of the semester, we did our presentation to William, and he said they're impressed and offered me an internship after that.
He's one of the nicest people.
Great,
you ever meet
yeah. It's truly amazing, and
Absolute
it's been great. So yeah, then that was 2017, and I've been with Coinigy ever since. So then after graduation, I joined full time for marketing, and yeah, been there since. So
good for you.
Been
so a dual degree in marketing and entrepreneurship.
Yes.
What do you have to do to get a degree in entrepreneurship?
It's mostly just teaching you like the basics of starting businesses and like stuff to think about and processes of it.
Huh.
And
yeah, I wish I had taken. I learned from the School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah. So, and
I think we've done a pretty good job. As you probably maybe you don't know very well yet, but I'm like an absolute open book. I am the worst liar in the world. It's impossible for me to lie. And then whenever I try to, people go, Brian, it's obvious you're lying, so shut the hell up. So I don't even bother. But it's a false, right? Because, I talk about JoJo, my wife, like she's still married. I talk about Liam, I talk about my family, and a lot of people are like, you shouldn't talk about your family and stuff like that. But I'm just an open book. I'm just, hopefully I'm relatively personable. If you are watching this and you happen to be on the live shows down the road, feel free to ask a question. I'll be more than happy to try and answer as best as I can.
Yeah, I know that we did get some people responding to us on Twitter about some of the charts that they were. So we got at least, I think, 4 or 5 that we've gotten. If you guys have some other coins that you're interested in, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll be monitoring it. And yeah, so
yeah. I don't know. Did I give you my full story? I guess. How did I get involved in Bitcoin and crypto? I actually had a cousin of mine, and actually the reason why I had on this the Twitter page was actually when I did this, I did this with Will and Alex. Is I said when we first started it up that I would take 1 Bitcoin, and it was actually the cost of our initial education program. 1 term, it was 1 student's fee was like $500. So with that, we bought 1 Bitcoin, or no, 1 student's tuition worth of Bitcoin, which is 1 1/4 Bitcoins, because Bitcoin was at like $450 or something like that at that. And I even said right on the show that I would ramp it up to 100 G's. And everybody's all like, oh yeah, whatever. And basically I did that. So that was why I had that on there. And actually this is pinned as sort of my, you can see how old it is.
Yeah.
Because actually I take a lot of pride in this, because I put my neck into the noose. I basically said that I was going to do this, and we did it. And if anything, if you're watching this video feed and you want to make a material change in your life, you want to get rich from trading, whatever the hell you want, and whatever kind of expression you want, you can do it. It's just you have to apply yourself, and you have to be patient, and you have to be disciplined, and you have to do everything in a very methodical, very systematic approach. And once you understand the basics and you understand the rules of this game, It's just really a question of, can you manage yourself? And if you can, like I said, this is a really good example where we just took $500, and actually the ending value of this account, by the time we blew everything out, it was about 300 or 400,000 US. So from $500, any one of you can do this, no problem. I think at the very top of the market, this thing hit like 700-800 G's or something. So, and
Yeah.
actually, you had a story about that. One of the names we'll look at
Yeah.
tonight, because I think people were asking about it.
Yeah. Someone had brought it up. It was Phantom or FTM.
Yeah, and actually, this would be a really, really good exercise for all of you, is to learn about how Joe sort of acted and what his emotional state was as he was going through this, trying to do it on his own without working with a trading plan. When I was sort of quizzing him earlier, and congratulations to you, Joe. He's telling me he was able to actually sell quite a bit up top here after buying right down at the bottom.
Yeah.
So he did everything that he was supposed to do, but it was interesting listening to how he sort of felt through that process. And if anything, maybe we can talk a little bit about his emotions and.
Yeah. Well, I can kind of give you a little intro. So yeah, we were talking about this. Someone commented on Twitter, and I was like, actually, this is a funny story. This was like my most profitable trade was when was with FTM. Was I'd bought in at like 18 cents and then sold around like $3, and it was mainly so FTM. The reason I bought in was because one of its Phantom's key strengths is the efficient transaction processing. Namely, it's thousands of transactions per second, and the transactions settle in like 1 to 2 seconds, and the cost of fractions of a cent per transaction. So it's super cheap to send the transactions, and executes very quickly. So I was like, this is actually something that I thought in my research phase was going to be, I could actually see this being a profitable coin rather than a meme coin type situation. And it was like when I was doing some research on some, and that was what initially caught my eye on that. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't buying. That was my initial investment. I was like throwing more money, and as I made some money, I was like, ooh, let's make more. I saw green, and but the dollar cost average started going up as I was, but then I sold right around towards the top, right just below $3 after it like went up and then down. And this was like I was following the news, and there was some like Phantom conference going on, and then right after that, like the price just kind of tanked a bit, and I was like, I'm out. Like I rode that wave long enough, and that was really my first big trade that I had made, and I've lost money on plenty of trades as well. But it's like that was like the one that I was like, this is what really kind of piqued my interest in trading some more and actually learning from Brian. So when we started talking about like re-emerging this show, I don't know much about trading. I can say like I know some about the indicators, and just from what I've made or had people make for Coinigy over the years, which is hosted on our YouTube library. We've got a big section. Brian himself has done a handful of those himself, and those tutorials. So it was always interesting to kind of hear what Brian had to say about that. And then once we talked about me finally getting on a show or kind of re-emerging the Bitcoin altcoin trading talk with him, I was like, yes, I would love to kind of just learn more about it. So that's going to be kind of a premise of what we're going to be working on with this show, is just kind of seeing where how we can use some of these indicators. Now as he's drawing these, I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
The cool thing is we through the sickness, I guess we'll say, I was actually privileged to learn how to both appropriately draw, but also understand the mathematics behind things like chaos theory. And we just recently added a new tutorial to this series. I've done several, well, I guess like two versions of the Fibonacci retracement. So these would be retracements, all these numbers within a range tutorials. And, the way that you'd use that is, let's say you wanted to, let's say, you had this big rally up top. And then you were thinking about, hey, I want to try and get in. You'd use the retracement tool to help you sort of see levels. I'm a really big fan of the 61.8 to 78.6 retracement levels. Probably more of like, I don't know. If you, I didn't include it, so if you are watching for the first time and you're like, who is this guy? I used to also be a prop crude oil trader for a firm out of Chicago. And actually, it's interesting. I've sent a lot of people from TRI over to that prop firm. And whenever I go over there, John, one of the principals over there is, hey, Brian, how's it going? So we're still on friendly terms. That's always a good sign. Anyway, when I was prop trading, we used to trade these two fibs religiously. And actually, I like to call this zone, the 61.8 to 78.6 zone, the reload zone. So if you think about the market booms higher, usually it'll come back. And this is a pretty good example where you can see it dip down into this zone and then had a little bit of a rally here off of the 61.8, then a really big rally here off of the reload zone. You can, ironically enough, if we just stretch this over time, you see that ultimately, and this is actually the gold here. If anything, what I want to get Joe to the point is being able to see, this is actually what's called an inverted head and shoulders pattern. I don't know that you can see that there.
Okay.
Price structure. Does that look at all? Have you ever heard anybody talk about head and shoulders patterns?
I have.
Yeah, so there is the tool. You can see it on the Coinigy platform. If you go down, this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 box. Yeah, I guess it's the 6 box down. And you just select that head and shoulders pattern.
So what does that tell you, the head and shoulders? Like what can, you said this is an inverted one, so
yeah,
run me through it.
I mean, ideally, you'd like this to be as symmetrical as possible. This is a little bit cockeyed, but that's all right. It still works. I guess that in simplest terms, how do you define a trend? And I mean, we want to try and keep this technical analysis stuff as simple as possible. So if we say, just see if I can find a trend. Well, I guess we can just use this brush. What does a trend in simplest terms? So if we're talking downtrend, really what all it is it's just a sequence of lower highs and lower lows made in price. So pretty typical downtrend. And what we really want to think about at any given point in time, all this technical analysis does, all it really does is it just visually demonstrates supply and demand in the marketplace. That's it. That's, if anything, that's the one good part about TA, is that it's just, there's no lying about it. There's no shill. There's no BS. I mean, sometimes there are head fakes moves, which we can talk about down the road. But especially if you're working on something like clotheslines, just really simply put, a lower highs and lower lows simply means that, say at this point right here, the demand for the asset was being pushed up. More and more buyers were coming into the marketplace. But something happened at that point right there, where that dynamic changed. And then right at this point, the demand in the marketplace failed and supply, or the number of sellers, people that want to get out, overwhelmed demand and actually started to push price back down. And this is just really TA 101. What is technical analysis? It's a visual representation of supply and demand in the marketplace.
Gotcha.
And you can make the argument, same thing, but going the other way. At this point right here, Supply is hitting the marketplace. Sellers are selling, sell, sell, sell. But something happened here where demand overwhelms supply. Demand overwhelms supply, and up goes price. And really, this is like economics 101. Really, really simple concept. So what you notice, and then, in the exact opposite, this is a downtrend, lower highs and lower lows. And exact opposite, if you have a situation where you're making higher highs and higher lows, then what this is saying is that at each of these battle points, demand is overwhelming supply. All right, supply comes back out, demand comes in. And the most important thing about this image right here is not, ironically enough, it's not the pivot points here. The most important image point is right there. This is where previously demand overwhelmed supply and price turned back up. Notice price punched through that level on this go round, confirming that supply is now overwhelming demand at this level, and down goes price.
Okay.
Demand comes in at a lower level, starts to push it back up, and we would say that this downtrend was reversed if we can break through that level. But in this scenario, you notice that supply came in here lower than this level and then pushed it down again. And so as a result, we had a big confirmation that it's still a downtrend on the breaking of this point. Does that make sense? All right. So that is in essence TA 101. This is a downtrend. This is an uptrend. Same logic, just in reverse. So demand is overwhelming supply, up goes price. We have a level where supply comes in and stops that demand push. Price goes back down, supply is overwhelming demand. Demand comes in, changes that dynamic. And as I said there, in the downtrend, this is the key point to validate the downtrend. Well, same thing here. This point right here is the most important point of this whole conversation, where at this point now, demand is now stronger than what this supply level was, and that confirms that this is now in an uptrend.
Okay.
That makes sense?
So yeah, I can see how that plays into the head and shoulders then too.
Exactly. So the point here, and this is the whole point of this conversation.
Yeah, that makes sense to me now.
What is relevant about what's going on here with this head and shoulders pattern?
Because it's
and
finally
the simple
breaking
fact
off.
is, you can see that price was making lower highs and lower lows, so we were in a very powerful downtrend. Then something happened here. Price came back to the previous supply level, where supply overwhelmed demand right here, and price would push down. But notice we pulled back, and then we said, nope, demand came out, and it punched through that high. And so as of this point right here, and this is sort of the trigger signal of the inverted head and shoulders, this right here is now basically this event right here, where we went from a downtrend and we basically turned into an uptrend. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that.
So we taught Joe his first TA. Way to go, Joe!
Let's go.
There'll be a quiz at the end of the show.
First of many. Well, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean the irony of it all is that we actually started with the harder concept first.
Jump right in.
This is a head and shoulders, so shouldn't it look like a head and shoulders? So, here, and it's interesting that you said you sold up around that $3 area. I mean, here you can make an argument there is sort of it's sloppy, it's not very symmetrical. And our head and shoulders guru, David, who Grim made reference to, David was actually, we have a stock pickers club meeting on Tuesdays on the site. And he's sort of the quarterback of the stock pickers club. And he lives by head and shoulders and megaphone patterns. And so he would look at this and he'd be like, Brian, I don't like that head and shoulders at all. But that's nitpicking. And what's interesting about us TA people is that I don't know, maybe you met people in the marketing fields, maybe in the computer programming field, or if you hear somebody make an incorrect reference repeatedly, it just drives you crazy. It's like, what do they call that? There's an expression for it. But anyway, I constantly hear people every generation, we get a whole new crop of quote unquote experts that all come piling into the industry. And it's for some reason in social media right now, like this, what you see on the screen here, these are what are called candlestick patterns. And if you think, I'm just going to go off on a tangent here. I'm sorry.
By all
Joe.
means, take it away.
Crazy.
As Adam just said in the chat, Brian's a whiz. So
okay, well,
I concur.
If you think about what a candle looks like, right? I mean, basically it looks something like that, right? And this is the wick that you light on fire, and this is the candle body, right? I mean, that's kind of what a candle, I suppose it shouldn't look limp like that, right? The wick should just look straight up. And you light this, and then your flame comes up here, right? And there's your candle, right? It's pretty straightforward. And then in
He's also an artist.
terms, I beg your pardon?
You're also an artist, not just a trading wizard.
There you go. I've just been working with these tools so long, I draw funny little pictures and stuff pretty easily. But then on the other side of this equation, when was the last time you here I'll do a sloppy one, but when was the last time you actually, you went to light a candle and there was a wick coming out the bottom of the candle and you're lighting the bottom here? You don't do that.
That's called TNT. So that's not a candle.
This part that's sticking out of the bottom, that's not called a wick. But everybody and the brother in modern TA experts this generation, they inappropriately call the bottom of let's see, we're on here, this one, the bottom of the actual candle here, they call that a wick, and it's just wrong, and it drives you crazy. Now if you add like a let's say like I don't know, I'll try not this is going to really test my drawing acumen. Let's see, what am I doing here? All right, so here's like a little dog. I don't know, it's a terrible image. Anyway, there's your dog. Rough with the ears, right? Maybe it's a pig, I don't know. What do you call the thing that sort of sticks out the back side of the
tail?
Animal? Right. So this is the proper terminology of the part that sticks out the bottom of the candle, like this right here. That is called a tail. Mm-hmm. So Joe, if you just want to stay in my good books, write that down afterward. Don't call this bottom part of a candle
making notes
a wick. You're just gonna drive Brian crazy.
There we go. Made note.
So it's just funny, like social media. How do you even quantify the person that you're watching, or any of the the shills, or any? Because oh my goodness, there sure are a lot of these crypto experts out there now, and I mean there's a bazillion different channels that are telling you what to do in crypto and stuff like that. And I constantly hear them making reference to the bottom of candles as wicks, and it drives me crazy. But anyway,
it's a tail.
So, you got a couple lessons here. This is gonna be Joe's crash course on TA 101.
Excited. We're just getting started.
All right. So, can you see this trend? Remember we said. And if anything, this is probably a nice little, even if you're sitting at home, right? Take a screenshot of this. I suggest to everybody, I think it's critical, and I do this on the weekend shows. Of course, we did this on the bad shows in years gone by, but also the weekly shows that I did with Paul, Nick, and Derek. And Derek, I haven't heard from you in a while. If you're watching this, reach out to me and let me know you're still okay, please. And that's the weird thing about a guy like me, is that I will actually take genuine concern in my students' lives. I will take an interest in your life, Joe. And now, of course, I've got Grim down there in Oregon. Really, what I should probably do is hop in the car and come down.
Let me know. I'm just about 5 hours south of you.
Yeah, it's not that far away. So actually, I'm a little overdue for a vacation, so I might just do that. But anyway, this is a really, really good screenshot, just to sort of everybody should have their journals out in front of them. And, I don't know whether Joe, if anything, I think what I'm going to do here with these shows, I'm going to use you as sort of like a guinea pig. And
By
actually,
all
it's
means.
interesting because one of our risk takers in the risk management module that we teach, one of the risk takers that we take is called Joe Sixpack. Did the YouTube video cut out? Are we still live?
Oh, it says. 1 second. Just said. Streams.
Check out the YouTube page. Does it say that the bit rate has gone down?
Yeah, it just says current bit rate is lower than recommended. I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes it'll just fix it on its own. Looks like it's trying to come back, but
open widget. Nothing's changed on my side.
Yeah, are you using a communal bandwidth kind of thing? In some communities, I do notice that actually it looks like is Coinigy drawing a lot of resources right now on your computer?
I'm gonna exit out of Coinigy there, but let's see. Yeah, it said drops 3.5. Just came back. All right.
Okay. Sometimes, just FYI, I don't know whether you're aware of this or not, but like some internet service providers, especially when we get to sort of like, this is like prime time, people coming home from work.
Yeah.
And we're taxing your bandwidth probably pretty hard because we're doing OBS and we're doing Zoom and we've got the Video Ninja thing going.
Yeah.
So just be aware of that. We'll have to monitor it. Like right now, I see that you're frozen on YouTube looking backwards.
Yeah, I see that now myself. Video stops and comes
back. Yeah. So it might be, we might want to just look into what internet service provider you have.
Yeah. And
if they do, if this is a shared bandwidth, and through, like I don't know what the hell they call it, but like through the dinner time window, you might find that the bandwidth actually slows down a bit.
All right, now it says excellent connection. So.
All right, well, we're back. Good. So FYI, YouTube, he's in Europe and he's asleep.
Yeah, we need Chris.
Yeah, and actually, Joe got to meet Chris. Chris is he's pretty sharp guy. Eh? Like,
yeah.
Okay, do this, do that, do that, do that, do that, do that.
Yeah, he's on top of it. But it looks like excellent connection now. Stream is healthy.
So just be aware and just keep sort of cognizant that can happen, okay?
Gotcha.
If we do see that it happens more often than not, then I might just, maybe do the OBS from my connection. Because they often don't run into this. All right, now where's Joe going?
I'm right here.
There he is.
Just making sure we're all set with that.
Okay, so as I said there just a moment ago, we're going to use Joe as a bit of a guinea pig. If anything, by, maybe 6 months from now, when we're right into what I would consider the most advantageous buying window for crypto for probably the next 5 years or so.
You're saying the next 6 months or in 6 months?
Probably in 6 months. Right, we're going to have to go through whatever the seasonal peak is that we're seeing in the market now.
Mm-hmm.
Then... we have an old expression in the market. They don't call it the fall for nothing. And you've probably heard over the years.
Oops.
Isn't that interesting? Did you just kill my screen share? Oh, there, no.
No, yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Looking at another message.
So usually price in risk assets usually kind of gets beat up a little bit in the fall. Also, too, we have a U.S. president right now that's not really very market friendly. So I don't think he has a lot of empathy for the Wall Street crowd. So he doesn't really care if price comes off.
Mm-hmm.
And also, too, I mean, I don't mean to be rude. My dear leader is no different. I don't think these leaders right at the moment care a heck of a lot for crypto.
No.
So, having said that, Usually into the fall, there's a bit of a dip, and I think that there's going to be a kind of a big political showdown in Washington this fall, and I have a feeling that price itself. We'll see how it goes. There are some people that I do follow in the market.
Oh, it looks like we lost the stream. Stream will end shortly unless you restart it in the streaming software. Warning, bitrate.
Okay. So it does look like that your internet connection might be a little bit taxed here.
1 second. And we're gonna have people drop in here. Not receiving much. Buffering problem. Wheels on the bus go round and round is right.
Oh, goodness. Well, this is why we did the pilot episode, right?
Exactly.
Isn't that interesting? So now the charts themselves from Coinigy are not. Oh, there now it came back. Oh, there we go. Looks like it's trying to play catch up a bit.
Yeah.
There might also be.
I've got a downstairs neighbor, like he's in like we're upstairs and he's downstairs. We're on the same Wi-Fi, and I'm curious if he's playing video games or something. That
might be,
but
we'll just muddle our way through. See, there's the blog. Actually, that's not a bad dovetail since we're sort of talking about the intros here. Hopefully the site can come back there. I had made reference to the market bottoming 2023. This is actually a free blog that we do. So I'm gonna put this link in the actual YouTube chat, and maybe you could even maybe put that into the description or comments so people can read that later on. It's free, so it's an easy way for you to get to know TRI. We have this front-facing free resource, and I have to say, the free information that's in this blog is actually probably more valuable than most of the paid research out there in the world. It's very remarkable how incredibly valuable this blog is. So we have actually a number of reasons that I think that we can make an argument that maybe not through the year. It'll be tough to see it through the year. But, this was 2000. Oh, isn't that interesting? Yep, looks like we did actually. The feed did just die.
Oh, it did? Well, it says we're back on. It says excellent connection.
Okay.
Here.
Hey, there we go. Welcome to live chat. I've still got you. Oh, cool. I don't know. So
there we go. It says excellent. It's weird. It'll just go from 0 to 100 or 100 to 0. It says excellent, and then it's like down.
All right. Well, we'll try our best.
Yeah, like I just dropped the link in the chat for you guys for the blog that Brian is talking about.
Yeah, that's interesting. I posted that in there, and it looks like it wiped it out. Maybe that was the catalyst to kill me. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, so our marketing guru, Josh. Actually, I think you met Josh. He actually put this report together. Number of different reasons why you can justify the market bottoming here. This is one study that I like to follow. They call it the January barometer. As January goes, so goes the year. This was 2022. So the blue study is actually the price action through January. And the S&P 500 in orange, this is this price action for the S&P through the whole year. So look at that. In January, this is what they forecasted that the market would do through the year. And look at what actually happened. This is the whole year's price action. I mean, isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
It's just one of the studies that we like to use as the old-timer, gnarly market participant people. So if we come down and we look, I mean, here's 2023 January barometer. That's pretty bullish. near the middle of the year. We should get a bit of a pullback here, but I think actually we're going to finish the year relatively strong. So that's a good sign. Fear greed cycles. We're actually into a greed cycle. So would actually be interesting, Joe. What generation would you consider yourself of? Would you say you're a Gen Xer? Would you say you're a millennial? Would you say you're Gen Z?
I
What do you think you are?
think so. I think I'm born in '96, and I think that it's like I think '96 is like the cutoff, but I'm pretty sure it's a millennial is what I would.
Okay, so you're now actually just entering the workforce, and I guess that kind of makes sense, right? You came out of university a few years ago.
Yeah, 27
I mean,
now.
I look like I'm in my 50s?
You look like you're in your
So
30s, Brian.
do I? Well, that's good to hear. Awesome. So I've run the block a few times. I'm in that generation that they just completely skipped, right? Gen Xers. So
Yeah.
we got screwed all. Anyway. So based on these sort of demographic bubbles, the millennials are basically the next demographic bubble. You're now heading into actually the sweet spot of your life. So enjoy the ride.
Will do.
You won't hit your peak earnings years for a good probably like 20 years.
Sounds good
So
to me.
right now, theoretically, I'm in my peak earnings years. So I better be making some money and saving money for retirement. Um, and if anything, it makes sense. I mean, I've been at this silly TA game for 30 years. I mean,
Yeah.
somebody who just doesn't know what the hell they're doing, they're not going to be able to come in and turn 500 into 100 grand. Or maybe what often happens is people will go and they'll buy something and they'll get lucky, kind of like what you were saying with the name that you bought, and they'll sell the top and they'll make a bunch of money, and then they'll end up just giving it all right back. And that does happen quite often. Oh, look at that. We cut out again.
The Wi-Fi's going out.
I don't know. I just, our
Excellent.
buddy there, like you said, the wheels on the bus go round and round. We got one of those going round and round things again.
Uh,
I'm not quite sure. Do you see anything on your side that's,
no, it looks like it's
maybe
back.
it looks like it's back.
It's saying I got excellent connection.
Okay. So point of the matter here is that we're heading into actually the sweet spot of your generational cycle. The next, 10, 15 years should be pretty good.
I see us.
Interesting. There's a gentleman who lived a couple hundred years ago who actually mapped out exactly when to buy and when to sell the market, like 200 years ago. And this is an extremely accurate study.
Really?
Yeah, the Benner cycle. So you notice that 2023 is a troughing year, a bottoming year. So there's another reason to look for a pivot in the bottom of the market. A decennial study. Usually years that end in threes actually do relatively well. Same sort of thing we talked about earlier. I do think that it's not going to be a big booming year for 2023. It should be kind of a consolidating year, a basing year. But notice, look how we finished the year. We actually finished the year pretty strong.
Huh.
So
And
again,
you said historically this has been pretty accurate.
yeah, this decennial pattern, this is actually one of Warren Buffett's favorite studies. So if you want to learn best practices, might as well learn from the guys who know what they're doing. We might as well listen to Buffett. So this is one of his favorite studies. If we think about think about this, and sadly, of course, politics and capitalism go kind of hand in hand. So if you want to get reelected as a politician, and I think this is what the Biden guy wants,
Mm-hmm.
is he going to do things?
They made the announcement yesterday. I saw that.
Well, yeah, he did a big sort of announcement about the auto industry. And actually, it was fascinating. I mean, this show's not about the auto industry. This is more about crypto. But actually, in today's videos, I talked about, you can actually see the reaction from Wall Street in stocks like Ford and in General Motors. There's actually very powerful technical signals came in on both of those stocks following that announcement. Luke says stream is down, but it looks like it's back up now.
Back
So that
up
might
for
be a little
me.
weird. Actually, it looks like, yeah, I'm showing. So we're talking right now about pre-election year studies. Again, you can sort of see that through the summer we could, we're probably going to chop back and forth sideways. But again, we're probably going to finish the year pretty strong. This is actually a famous gentleman. His name is Richard Wyckoff.
I remember learning about him.
Right. There's his name, Wyckoff.
Yeah.
Was it the market cycle? And actually, remember that image that I showed you earlier? You know, what is the definition of a downtrend? What's the definition of an uptrend?
Mm-hmm.
So this was actually Mr. Wyckoff sort of if he was going to have like a doctoral dissertation on what capitalism looks like, this is actually what it really looks like. So you get an accumulation pattern, and if you think about it, in crypto, we see this every single cycle. We bottom out, then we start breaking higher, then we go through the markup process, right? If you think about your little FTM, I mean, this is absolutely textbook. So you could make the argument that, and usually these things go through waves, but you could make the argument this is your accumulation, this is your markup, this is your distribution. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You could also argue, well, distribution, this is accumulation. I guess this is continuation of markup. This is distribution. And then back to accumulation, markup, distribution.
So my thought process was going through like the build up in was that early September? Right around there. But that once it went down, I was like, all right, if it goes, I do remember having like some like strategy. I was like, all right, if it goes up, I was like, the next one I feel like, but this was not like indicator based and stuff. It was just kind of gut feeling. I was like, next time it goes up, I was like, it can't just keep going up. If it keeps going up, if it goes up like that, it's got to come down. And I think that was one. As soon as I saw it drop, that was my like thought process of like why I decided to sell on that. Was I was like, all right, it can't just keep going up.
Interestingly enough, actually, this is what's called a harmonic pattern.
See, now I'm learning.
So you see this pattern here, right? And ideally, this should look symmetrical. I just sort of freehanded it. Oh, Jesus. Now what happened? More circles of death.
I don't know. On my side, it's showing that I got excellent.
All right. Disregard what I just said there.
Well, we'll have this streamed, or I'm recording it on OBS as well, so we'll be able to we'll have it uploaded, so you won't miss anything.
Well, and actually, so this is just the live stream, right? So, you can make the argument that actually, if you have this in the library, you're watching it after the fact, I don't think we'd see this. But anyway, one way that I actually trade the market is this is what's called an AB equals CD pattern. So we say letter A, and actually it's called an AB equals CD. And you're getting the crash course tonight, man. I'm going to throw everything at you.
Sounds good.
We won't do options tonight. We'll save that for another night. Maybe we'll do futures contracts, contango and backwardization. But this is a pretty classic pattern that I like to trade, called an AB equals CD. And this level right here is what they call a potential reversal zone, right up here. So fascinating. You see that that's at 270. So it's interesting how you sort of psychologically started to get a little antsy right around. You said you sold right underneath $303, right?
Probably, a little less.
So ironically enough, you did basically you sold where you were supposed to sell. So way to go. You were kind of just pulling it out of your butt, though.
Yeah,
so,
there was little technical.
They often say, right? They often say people that are new to trading, they're sometimes lucky.
Oh, that was lucky. Yes.
Yeah, and they often say that that's the worst thing that can possibly happen to people, because you're going to bang out this win and you're going to just say, okay, this is really easy. Anybody can do this. And you're going to be thinking about this awesome trade that you did forever. And then you're going to try and replicate it and go, okay, so now we go here and I'm going to go here. And so that means I'm going to sell now next up at like $6, $7, and it goes the other direction. And you're like, what the hell? Why did that happen?
Yep.
Anyway, what's really interesting about this is that this C point is actually a reversal point. In fact, in harmonic land, they call it a PRZ.
The next Dave Portnoy, Davey Day Trader Global, Joey Dave Day Trader Global.
Portnoy, was that the guy?
The guy with Barstool Sports. During the pandemic,
Barstool,
he kind of pivoted his stuff to do like day trading because everything was shut down.
That didn't go very well when the market started to fall apart.
Yeah, and this was early on, but during the pandemic, I'd watch some of his stuff. It was just like he's just a character, and it was entertaining to watch. But yeah, he did not know what he was doing with it, and just got wrecked.
The sad thing is, I could show you a couple stocks that he got involved in, and they got absolutely crushed.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing, there were such good lessons to learn there. You ever heard the expression "Don't fight the Fed"?
Yes. Wait. No. Actually, I don't think so. It sounds familiar, but I can't put it in a context. I was reading
God, we could sit here and talk anecdotes all night. Maybe that's what the purpose
of this
first show is all about, is just to talk anecdotes. But anyway, the point here is that this is actually a level at which the market often reverses. And here's a fun little thing for you to remember. And if you're watching this and never seen me before, this is a great thing you can take away from tonight's show. What are you supposed to think if you ever see the market smiling at you? So, and the good part about it is that you actually had direct experience, because you did sell here.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw what happened after the fact. So
smiled.
If you're watching this for the first time, the fancy schmancy technical analyst guys, they're going to say, oh, well, this is an AB equals CD harmonic pattern. That's a PRZ. This is a failed counter trend rally. This is a market structure breakdown, blah, 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 blah.
Bye-bye money is right, Adam.
Yeah, exactly. That's well said. And, the sad part about it, right, is who is this that's actually smiling at you? And it's the Goldman Sachses. It's the Joey Diamonds. It's the, Wall Street, 1%, whatever the hell you want to call them. But you ever saw that? I couldn't believe, don't get me started on this. But I couldn't believe they're actually going to start that damn FTX thing back up again.
So I made a note. I wanted to talk about that. Who in the right mind is going to trust them with their money again?
But do you not know who's actually behind FTX and who was behind that SBF guy? Is that like an absolute crook? He's an absolute criminal.
Yes.
And he was actually famous for, they were running a poker site, and they had software that they gave to people that would let the people see the other player's hands.
Oh.
And there was a famous sort of case, I don't know what you call it, where a guy called a bluff, and anybody who's any sort of professional poker player knows that they would never call that bluff. And the only reason why the bluff was called was because the person knew that the guy was bluffing, because he must have seen his hand.
Yeah.
And there was no way that under any circumstance the guy would ever call that bluff. But it just goes to show those are the people that are actually behind that SBF guy.
Yeah. And
just absolute criminals.
For those that didn't see the news, it came out today that the bankrupt FTX recovered. They said $7.3 billion worth of assets in cash and liquid crypto assets.
How do you do that?
That's what I'm saying. How do you lose $8 million of $8 billion of money to begin with?
And then be able to somehow just mysteriously recover it out of thin air. I mean, what the hell?
They're like, oh, actually, I found it in my pocket.
Stinks like yesterday's garbage, man.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I just don't know how anyone would trust them again.
And, like we've said this before, right? SBF basically, well, actually, we haven't. But SBF basically, it was notorious for basically buying politicians, right?
Mm-hmm.
You wonder whether there was some, activity behind the scenes, from political heavyweights to fix the situation.
Did we lose the stream?
I don't know. Actually, no, I'm still shaking. It's weird. It's like I have to keep refreshing the YouTube page. And every time I refresh it, it comes
Yeah, it's
back.
telling me. Okay, there we go. It like showed an end for me. That was weird.
Yeah,
And
I've had to do this now
it's showing
twice.
excellent condition, excellent connection. So
Joe's getting a trial by fire tonight. That's for sure.
We'll get this ironed out.
Okay, so where should we go next?
All right, so other ones that we've had talks about. So, well, obviously, Ethereum was in the news today with the Shanghai Capella upgrade, and
somebody asked about this, so should we maybe look at this in real time now and
Yeah.
sort of just
Oh,
give you my
yes.
2 cents?
yes.
Right. So we talked a little bit about trend. So now you should be able to understand what an uptrend is, what a downtrend is. Now, based on our little conversation about supply and demand and downtrends, Joe, do you now understand the significance of smiles and the lower highs and lower lows? Does that make sense?
Yep.
I mean, textbook wise, we'd say, well, actually this looks like, a downtrend, right? Something like that. But I like to use, and if anything, when I talk to you and I get to know you over time, hopefully you hear from me is I like to use a lot of different colorful images. I like to use analogies. I like to connect concepts, like the reload zone, this concept here. If I told you, you have to memorize 61.8% fib. 61.8, that's the number you have to remember.
61.8.
A lot of people are going to go, what? If I come back to you a week from now. Now, what was that number I told you to memorize? You're not going to remember it.
Yeah.
But if I use concepts like, big green boxes and reload zones and, trying to think about what institutional players are, they buy down markets and stuff. So, like 78.6, this is actually my favorite fib. And that's what I actually call it on the site, is I call it my BFF. So, a lot of people on social media use that, but it means something completely different. But 78.6, and you can see.
I'm looking on the wrong screen. I was looking on the 78.6.
There's 78.6 right there.
Yes.
Look at if you had bought right there. Would you have felt like a genius?
Yeah.
Just by the end of the day, you would have looked like a trading guy.
Yeah.
And then look how the market bottomed here. Anyway, so this is why I affectionately call the 78.6, I call it, we'll even write on here, BFF. I call it my BFF, or Brian's favorite fib. Of course, BFF means something else to most of the people in the world. So I like to use these colorful references. So, now from now on, if I say BFF to you, Joe, you're probably going to think about this. You're going to go, oh, yeah, I remember that funny story, right? But really, I mean, if you want to make money from trading, Joe, what do you think? Is it worth your while? And knowing about Brian's favorite fib, and maybe thinking if you see price come back down after a huge spike up, and maybe consider buying some right there. Yeah, I think you'd look pretty hard, eh?
I'd agree.
Anyway, so let's go to today and let's see what the heck's going on here. All right, so now you should look at this, even after the conversation that we've had today. You should be able to look at this, and you should be able to say to me, I can see exactly where this market stopped being a downtrend and actually turned around and started being an uptrend. Can you see?
The head and shoulder?
Well, head and shoulders is one concept. The whole idea is really double bottoms. That's what they really call them.
Okay.
That's, and if you just think about it, I'm looking for the drawing tool, sorry. Where are we here? It's in here somewhere. Well, anyway, I'll just draw it by hand. So, all right. So, the down, a market top. Remember, we said, what are you supposed to think if you ever see the market smiling at you? All right, and that's the establishment of a new downtrend. Right? See that? Remember, we just did this. Well, what's the exact opposite? So if you take this image and
Yeah,
you just
flip
flip
it
it
upside
around,
down
what
and-
letter of the alphabet do you think we're going to make here?
A big old W.
Yeah. And, you know, like I like to call it a smirk. That's probably the best way I've ever sort of described it. It doesn't really look like a smirk, but nonetheless, if you see that W, then you know that we're transitioning into an uptrend.
Okay.
And actually, this is how you define the trend.
I
is
see
these
how
points.
on the angle. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, do
Yep.
you see how the market went
Yep.
down? Then it came back up, and then it went down, and then it went up. And hello, there's your W. So that right there is a very significant event.
Huh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's awesome.
The interesting thing is anybody can do this. It's
Yeah.
not rocket science. It's just you have to know what to look for.
You just have to watch Brian's videos.
Whoa, nice. Well said. Oh, Jesus, damn YouTube page kicked out again. Let's see if if I refresh it, does it reload? Oh yeah, there it is. Now it's back. I think we're going. I hope so.
We got a couple viewers on it, shows.
Right.
I think we're pushing people out by.
Yeah, this is, and then maybe I can't comment on. Hey, there's Josh. Hey, you to see that the Joshua McGowan,
We're back.
our level 2 instructor.
Okay.
Along
Hello,
with
Josh.
Marat's over in Germany though, so I doubt we're gonna see him. He's probably middle of the night for him. He's in LA, so another West Coaster. So we got a whole bunch of West Coasters here on the show tonight.
Right when Brian mentioned SPF. They're hacking us.
Surprise, eh? Yeah. All right, so M's and W's, did you guys get to hear about that? I don't know, maybe the video cut out there.
It said it was out for 5 minutes.
Was it really that long?
Yeah, it said been down 5 minutes, just came back.
Oh, God, this is frustrating.
Yeah.
Well, if anything, this is why we did the
The pilot. If I have to upgrade full internet providers, I will.
Well, I mean, maybe I'll do the OBS. I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
figure this. It's not really that big of a deal. But the point here is, we had to go through this pilot project. We had to go through the experiment to see how this would work, right? That's why we're calling this a pilot.
We promise. Hopefully.
Okay.
Next time's better.
We just have to figure it out. No big deal. Okay, so I don't know. There it goes circly again. So it's cut out. I'm not sure whether we're live again or not. But I noticed, isn't that interesting? It might be. Well, we can do as best as we can. Matt, what was that magic fib that I told you that you should remember?
61.8.
All right, so let's see what happens when I draw a fib off of the bottom here.
I'm so happy I got that right.
Pardon me?
I'm so happy I remembered that.
Yeah, good. Yeah, you're learning. Do you see how the market dipped down into the reload zone? And in this particular case, it bottomed basically off that 61.8 fib. So we could also make the argument that this is what's called horizontal support and resistance, this level right here. And you could also make the argument that this is what's called market structure, that level right there. So this is if the market could dip down into this area, I would consider this like a gold-plated buying window.
Okay.
But I get the impression that there were so many buy orders down in this area, especially against this low here, that every time the market stabbed down into this area, the market ran out of sellers and the buyers took over. Remember we talked about sort of what does the anatomy of a supply and demand look like. So remember we did the AB equals CD earlier as well?
Yep.
So you could make an argument that there is your A to B. And if we clone this, I think that's one of these. Let's see, is it this one? That one there, clone. And then we come back up here, and we lost the YouTube video again. Remarkable how this is happening.
This is frustrating.
Well, yeah, we're having fun.
Yeah.
I mean, are you having fun?
I'm having a great time. It's just
Good.
I wish that it would work. Yeah, it's frames dropped per second,
Yeah.
11.6.
Well, I just, if anything, our next go round, either you have a dedicated internet
Yeah.
service, like there is a website. I can't remember what it's called, but you can actually see how much bandwidth you're using. And do you have a lot of tabs open right now?
No, minimal.
No. So probably your next door neighbor is playing like Call of Call of Duty. Is that what it's
Yeah.
called, or Call of Warfare, or whatever
Call
the
of
hell that
Duty.
is. All right. So back to our story here, and hopefully people after can see this. Yeah, it's interesting how it keeps zipping around. Anyway, so can you see A to B, C to D? And what did we call this level just a minute ago? Let's see if you can remember. What did we call this line here?
I'm blanking.
That's okay. The PRZ. Remember that?
Yes.
PRZ? PRZ. And that stands for potential reversal zone. Right there. So I don't think it really should surprise us that the market actually pivoted off of that level, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a potential reversal zone. As we go forward in time, I think we can start incorporating indicator analysis into our conversation. I think maybe for tonight we'll just leave it at price analysis. But just so you have a context, um, were we recording? I don't know whether we were recording earlier or not.
We were
But
recording the
let's
whole
say I put
time.
away these other indicators. And I had said sometimes, you like to see indicators lows, but the price itself is not making a new higher low, or vice versa. You see, price itself is low or a lower low, but the indicator is not. Do you remember? Did we talk about that? I seem to remember talking to you about that earlier.
The lower lows.
So, do you see how price itself made a lower low here?
Oh, yes.
But if we look down at the indicator, and this is my favorite way of using momentum oscillators. That's what this is. This is a momentum oscillator. The MACD stands for moving average convergence and divergence. So it's just simply a measure of two different moving averages and their relationships. Do you notice how the indicator itself did not make a lower low, even though price was making a lower low?
Okay. Yeah, I see that.
So that's actually what's called divergence. In this case, this would be a bullish divergence.
Okay.
So, interestingly enough, I mean, I don't want to give you the whole course in one evening, but what we usually teach people to do is try and find three unrelated. Oops.
Searching.
We want to go three unrelated. Now it's now. What is it doing? Okay, let's try this again. Three unrelated reasons for taking a trade. So, reason number one, and I always suggest to everybody, and actually this might be an interesting trivia question for you. What is the most important criteria in any real estate transaction? What do they say?
Location, location, location.
Yeah, well, and they even say it three times. What are the three most important reasons for real estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Location, location, and location. So, how about when you're going to buy and sell an asset in the marketplace? Is maybe location kind of important? Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, your number one reason should always be a good trade location. And if you want to use, what did I call that? The what was RLZ? What did that stand for? Do you remember?
Sorry, I've been distracted with
That's okay.
I just texted Mike neighbor asking if he was.
Can you just put World of Warcraft away
For,
just
like-
for the next hour, please?
Yeah, it's just
All right, we call this the reload zone. RLZ, that's what I like to call it.
yes.
And really, if anything, what I need to do, and I suppose you did it when you originally purchased this, is you force yourself to buy low. I mean, that's the whole point of this exercise, right? But you'd be really surprised how many people in the public don't understand this, and they come in and they actually buy markets all the way up here. And they're, like your sell order at $2-3, you said. Somebody had to buy those off of you up top there, right?
Yeah.
Somebody did. It was probably somebody somebody who really didn't know what the heck they were doing in the marketplace. It's the sad part about it. You remember when that guy appeared on Saturday Night Live, and he was manipulating a particular current cryptocurrency? I don't know if you've ever heard of the guy before.
He just
I
bought
won't
some
mention-
big company, I think.
Yeah, we don't need to mention names. Why did he not come out if he was actually such a nice guy? Why didn't he come out and tell the public, it's not really a good idea to buy this particular dog money at like 70 cents a share or a coin?
Yeah.
He could have. Would have been the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you've seen what dog money's price is these days, but it isn't 70 cents a coin.
Yeah. It's not.
So, the sad part about it, like I told you before, Joe, and I don't know why. A lot of people ask me, they can't figure out why I'm doing this, but I'm basically giving away all the secrets here of what not to do in the marketplace. And I'm doing it purely altruistically. Like, there's no fee or anything involved in it. It's people watching this. But the number one thing you have to understand was you cannot be a buyer of this asset up here. You just can't do it. But what was our number one reason for justify taking a trade?
Location.
And what's our magic tool that helps you understand good trade
The
location?
reload zone.
So there you go, folks. I mean, I'm giving you the secret sauce right here. And the proof of the pudding's in the eating. You tell me.
Yeah.
If you had stepped in and bought that 61.8 and waited a few days, would you have been a happy camper?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that simple. So number two, what's the number two reason? Remember, we want 3 unrelated reasons to justify the indicator confirmation. And what I mean by that is we want some sort of hint or some sort of note around how if we start seeing W's in our indicators, maybe it's saying that this asset is our second in your hard-earned money is we'd like to see indicator confirmation, and ideally, in an ideal world, we want to see what we call divergence. So, interestingly enough, I think this is a very, very good example of bullish divergence. Price is making lower lows, indicators are not making lower lows. Then the final reason, and this gets a little tricky, right? So I'm not going to say, in this particular case, it's not really that cut and dry. Ideally, we would, and I can show you plenty of examples, especially on a lot of altcoins right now. Oh my goodness, they're all over the place. But ideally, we want to see a W in price itself. Now, this one didn't really give you a W. This is what's called a fractal, which is very difficult for new people to trade. I'm not going to say that's easy. A little bit more advanced people, you would have actually gotten a buy signal on a move through this little candle right here. This 3-bar pattern actually creates what's called a fractal. And actually what might be interesting is, let's see if you might have it here. Let's see. Okay, is this going to search through your indicator list? No, I guess not.
Is that the same as the Willy?
No, that's
I know we
that's
had
an
one.
oscillator.
No,
What I'm looking
Oh,
for
there we
is
go.
well, there it is. Okay, so this, I guess maybe I'm kind of thinking. Look how It might be Coinigy's a bit slow here, you know. It might be my data. Maybe it's my local computer here is slow. Anyway, so this is called the Williams fractal indicator. You see
Okay.
that?
Yeah.
This is pretty advanced, and of course, we do teach this in our education program. But I don't expect you to get this right away. But maybe Google what is a fractal after,
Yeah.
and people who are watching this video. Of course, like I said, we teach this extensively on the site. But this 3-bar pattern here is what's called a fractal. If I loaded up this indicator on the chart and I set it to identify 3-bar fractals, it will give a little arrow here at the bottom of this candle saying that it is a fractal, which in essence is a buy pivot. If we drill down to a lower time frame chart, we'd actually see a W. You can see I loaded the indicator a few times on here. I don't want to overwhelm the system here. All right, so we'll just let that load. It might take a minute to load. But in essence, the third reason, remember I said we want to see a W in price. What would we call this? Well, what we would call this is market structure, the actual structure of price. And do you remember our conversation about supply and demand and what does a trend look like? What does an uptrend look like? What does a downtrend look like? That conversation? Do you remember that? Anyway, a few minutes ago. Looks like they're
saying that Adam said might have to try and catch later. Mostly cuts out for long periods.
Yeah, well, this was our pilot. We knew that it was going to be a bit of a challenge. So I don't know. Are you enjoying our conversation?
I am. I feel bad having all these people trying to watch it, but guys, don't worry. It will be uploaded. We're recording it locally, and I will have it uploaded to Coinigy.
All right. Cool. Actually, that'll be cool. All right, so and really, this could be like a little master class.
Mm-hmm.
You could even just say on Jesus, somebody really does not want us to be doing this here, right? They just keep killing the video. In 8 years that I've been doing this here, I've never seen this happen before.
Yeah,
where it just constantly is cutting out.
Yeah.
So it's almost like YouTube does not want us to be doing this. But anyway. Okay, so the point here is our third reason for justified taking a trade should be market structure. I would use this fractal as my entry. It would give you a buy signal down there at about 35 cents, and of course you can see the violent pop up top. We could also say, thinking about W's, right?
Mm-hmm.
We could also, do you notice that there is a cute little W? I don't know whether this is going to load or not, though. There's also a W that's coming in here. See that? Up, down, up, and actually there's even tighter one. Up, down, up. And you see all the W action. So, do you remember, what was that PRZ concept? These teal lines, what did we call that again? Do you remember?
Those are for the reload zone, but...
Nope. The teal lines, remember we had letters of the alphabet for them?
Oh,
and then project that off of this low, C to D.
Okay.
So that actually gives you a price objective right up in here. Isn't that cool? We've got working here. We've already had the market spit out bullish divergence, and notice, look at the indicator. You see how the indicator is also going and spitting out a W here. So
oh yeah, I see that.
Up, down, break up.
Yeah.
So we're actually getting a lot of bullish price action down in here.
Interesting.
So we had the killer buy level there at about 35 cents. It's a pretty good level. We had the original double bottom, and as we do this more and more over time, hopefully, I don't know whether you can see this. Do you see this cute little W that came in down there? I mean, that was the killer trade level. And there was a bunch of people on the, well, not a bunch. At the end of the year, this is actually a tax-driven market here into the end of the year. So people basically sell into the end of the year for tax reasons. Generally, when people sell into the end of the year for tax reasons, it's not a good investment decision. It's tax decision. So you can see coming out of the end of the year, this market, along with a whole bunch of other cryptos, they all started spitting out W's and they all went crazy. And it looks to me like this is what we would call a trend continuation pattern, which is good. There's nothing wrong with that. And as long as this keeps painting higher highs and higher lows, well, let the bull reign. The fractal tool. Okay, so the fractals, let's see if we can get this to line up here. Up fractals, inputs. All right, so 3. Okay, so you don't really see it too big, but let's see if we can we make it a little bit bigger. No, it doesn't look like we can change the size. Okay, so anyway, the point being that, do you see how the indicator painted this little arrow here?
Yes.
Right there? That's a bearish fractal.
Okay.
And, if you want a fun assignment, or anybody who's watching this video later on, Google what a fractal is, or, maybe consider taking the TRI education program. It's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see, and I don't know whether we can show it here or not. The box may cover that. Let's see if we can move this out of the way. Come on, you. Go like that. I'm gonna highlight that. Move that over. And let's highlight that. All right, so and you see the little arrow down here. Right there.
Okay.
So this, and actually it shouldn't be that bar, it should be this bar. That is a bullish fractal. That's weird how that just moved over like that.
Yeah,
right?
I saw that.
So basically the fractal is, this is the lowest low. But what I wanted to show you is if we drilled down, like let's put like a big box over this. Jesus, goddamn Big Brother just killed the video again. We'll put a box right over this. Let's maybe color it like purple or something so that we can see this. Oh, what just happened? Where did you go? Okay, we'll go with that. And go with purple. All right. All right. Now let's zoom in on, say, like an hourly chart. So let's see where that purple box is. Wow, isn't that interesting? So now I can't even hit the back button to get the video back. It's gone now.
Everything in the Pacific Northwest is going.
See, can you see this? Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Look at that. I can't even go back. I've got this thing. Warren Buffett doubles down on Japan. I mean, who the hell are you? But look at that. I can't even go back to our video now. Because before, I was just hitting the back button to refresh it. And now it's completely gone. That's kind of a bummer.
Type in.
Hey, there we go. Oh.
Now we're at free advertising.
Isn't that weird? YouTube is just not happy with us doing this at all. Oh, look at that. Look at that. It just kicked me out again. These bastards. Okay. No. Come on, you son of a gun. Look at that. I can't get it back now. It's like literally SBF has called up his crew. I guess he's doing this from jail. I don't know. Maybe it's that poker guy. It must be the poker guy.
As soon as we talk about it, it's done.
Yeah, I can't even get the video back now.
Yeah.
You gave me the link though in the chat box, didn't you? Maybe if I click on that.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you did. Wait, you sent that to me on
Here, Discord.
right?
I'll do it again.
Where are you? Discord. Hey, there you are, Crypto Kid. Yeah, so maybe we should do this through Discord. That might be a better way to do this. Okay, let's see if we can get the video back. Come on, baby. Hey, there you are. Okay, now this will be interesting. Let's see if they.
Then you say there we are, and then the yellow error pops up saying not enough videos.
What was that? Sorry.
As soon as you said there we are, it says I got an error from YouTube.
Huh, son of a gun. Well, it's been a fun experience.
Yeah.
I mean, do you see how casual I am about all this when I'm talking to you though?
Yeah, no, it's been a good
through
conversation. Yeah,
if
we'll
anything,
get this ironed out, I promise.
I almost love to make fun of YouTube because it's so obvious watching Big Brother operate in the background. It's kind of sad, really. Okay, so we zoomed into a lower time frame on this FTM, right? Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And then didn't we say something about W's?
Yeah.
Look at that. Remember, this was our PRZ, right? This this line here.
Okay, yeah.
And that was our, let's see if I can show you this. I don't know if anybody, you said we're recording this, right?
Yeah, I'm recording on.
Should be, anybody watching this on Coinigy after the fact, this is just absolute gold, the tutorial that we're doing here for you tonight, folks. So there was the PRZ. And remember, we looked at the MACD indicator off the higher time frame, and it was massively in divergence. And I had said that, well, off the daily chart, this was a fractal.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been tough for new people. But notice I drilled down to the 1 hour chart, and what letter of the alphabet is that? It's staring you right in the face. So this is basically the third reason I like to justify taking a trade is what's called market structure. You might call it a fractal off a higher time frame because it just doesn't have enough time to form the full W. But we drill down to a lower time frame, and can you see the W?
Uh-huh. I do. And it's going up.
It's freaking awesome, eh? And what's fascinating about this is you notice there's the W, so you'd buy there. And the rule is, anybody watching this afterward, you can do this on Coinigy, folks.
Mm-hmm.
I know lots of people in the past made great money trading off Coinigy. Anybody can do this. We identified trade location. We identified indicator confirmation. We now drill down to lower time frame. We're looking for W's. There's a big W. It's really, really simple, folks. We're just going to go, let's see if I can find the tool here. There it is. We are going to buy a break of the top of the W. And here's the key, watching this. We're not going to risk against this low. This is what we call the noob stop. And most new people that are trading will have their stop here. We have to risk all the way against the lowest low. Well done. So, there's your trade. It's just as simple as that. Now, what I often suggest to students, and look at that, YouTube kicked us out again. Let's see if we can even get this. I also noticed too that because doesn't this like scroll down at the bottom of the pane here?
Yeah,
Shouldn't this just be scrolling away?
No, it's if your mouse is on it.
It almost seems like it's frozen.
Or those are your favorites, so maybe that's all that you have favorited.
Okay, so back to our point here. I suggest to people that they use like a 2-to-1 risk reward. And so the question here is, if you're using this tool, how do you figure out what 2-to-1 is? Obviously, we know exactly where to enter the trade. It's pretty obvious.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to buy the W. We know exactly where we're going to risk on this trade. We're going to risk to a break of the W. So then that means, by definition, we should be able to figure out exactly where we should try and take at least some profits. Remember I said, ideally you want to try and make sure that your trades produce a $2 of risk, beg your pardon, $2 of reward for every dollar of risk that you take. So that means we're just going to take the profit taking tool, that's this top part, and we're just going to drag it up until you see that say 2 to 1, or basically 2.0. So where is that? That is right there. So the question I would have for you, Joe,
Okay.
do you think it's an accident why price rallied up to this level and then all of a sudden stopped and actually had to go back down again?
Do you think it's a coincidence?
Coincidence, accident,
Accident?
not
No.
on purpose.
No, I think that, this.
I would say that there were probably a lot of people who bought this W and they took profits at that 2 to 1. In fact, actually what's really popular on the interneting these days is people want to book a 2.5 to 1. I think that's a little bit greedy, but let's see whether 2.5 to 1 was hit. As a professional myself, I would say 2 to 1. But let's see whether you could have squeezed a 2.5 to 1 out of this. 4, 5. Oh my goodness, look at that. That was
To a T.
So this is the anatomy of a professional trade. That's exactly what happened here. This was basically a professional trader setup here. Just absolutely textbook.
Beautiful.
Now, market pulls back, and lo and behold, what letter of the alphabet do you see here?
You see a nice little W.
Isn't this incredible how it just keeps happening over and over? It's the same thing. It just, the universe just keeps repeating the same behavior. In fact, actually, I even put out a tweet recently about Bitcoin saying that Bitcoin, the universe, is a fractal. Because in essence, now you can understand what I mean. This W pattern off the lower time frame charts is nothing more than a fractal off the higher time frame charts. I might argue that this is what we call a trend continuation trade. And then notice, as and we might even do, remember what was that harmonic pattern that we were drawing earlier?
See it.
If I do that to there, what am I going to do? I'm going to call that what to what?
Clone it.
Letters of the alphabet.
The A to B, C to D.
Right? And then we'll just draw that off of there. And oh, what a surprise. Look where the market topped out. I mean, pretty much at that level, maybe a little bit off, but nonetheless, not a big surprise. And then, lo and behold, look what happens to come in right up top here. What are we supposed to think? Let's see if you remember this. What are we supposed to think if we ever see the market smiling at us?
Bye-bye money.
Yeah. So, having said that, I think that was a really good little trade level there.
Yeah.
Very professional. That to me looks like an extreme professional trade. I don't think, to be honest with you, Joe, I wouldn't even want you considering to try and take this trade reals.
Yeah.
In fact, our level 1 instructor, Grim, who was on the call there, he requires all of our level 1 instructors to do 100 what we call paper trades. Or basically, you're going to map all this out, and instead of actually risking your hard-earned money, you're just going to write in a database, this, like a spreadsheet or something. This is exactly where I'm going to buy. This is exactly where I'm going to take profits, and let's see what happens. Okay. That's
get there.
A great way for you to get over all the anxiety of trading. You got to take a ton of paper trades. So, finish off our conversation about this particular asset. Where do I think this price is going? Remember, we moved this reload zone box because we needed to see the fractals. Let's see if I can just click on that now. Is that going to work? Come on, you. It's got to click. Can't get it to click. Come on. I wonder, I do have a lot of tabs open. So I wonder if my internet connection is causing this to be a little bit clunky. All right, there. So notice as soon as it changed to a hand,
Yeah.
now I've actually selected it and now I can move it. So we'll put it back to the reload zone. Now, based on that conversation, you see how that fractal was actually a W off the lower time frames.
Mm-hmm.
There's the 2-to-1 move. And I get the impression that this is what we call a trend continuation trade. I don't know whether we want to open up this can of worms, but this is
We got
a trade.
many episodes.
Yeah, I know. We've only talked about one coin here, and we're probably, we're at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
When do we start this? We're already at
5.
2
We're
hours.
2 hours. Yeah.
You see how quickly the time
It
goes?
flies.
So anyway, the point that I would make is, A, B, C, Ds, instead of just measuring this move and, breaking it into parts, we can actually look at this as one continuous move, A to B, C to D. And now, remember, what did I say was the minimum sort of reward that we want to justify seeing to justify risking our hard-earned money?
Is it
Remember that?
3?
2-to-1?
2-to-1?
Something like that. Remember we did this out and it came to 2-to-1.
Oh,
right there?
yeah.
This trade setup actually produces a 3-to-1. So $3 of reward for every $1 of risk taken. So in essence, what we want to do is we want to break this move. We are anticipating that this is going to be an A to B, C to D. So we're anticipating that we're going up here.
Okay.
And we're going to break this move into quarters. I won't go into the details, but I'll just simply say, just eyeballing, you can kind of see how if we just bought this W and we risked against the low, you can see how that's fucking then YouTube just kicked it out again. Wow, these jerks. And isn't that interesting? Look at that. I can't go back to our video. They killed us again. YouTube really does not want the public seeing this.
Yeah.
Okay, where's the...
Thank you for sticking with us, Adam.
Yeah, Adam's still there. Adam's a soldier. I tell you, Adam's awesome. Okay, let's see if I'll click back on that. Let's see if it'll come back.
I'm going to use the restroom super quick.
All right. So yeah, I've even talked to co-show host off the show. He's gone to the bathroom. Actually, maybe what I'll do is I'll have an olive. I don't know. I think Adam's the only person still left watching. Yeah, there's only 2 people watching. Hey, Forrest. Run, Forrest, run! My hair, you know what? While he's gone, I'll just map this out. It was an interesting experiment tonight, though, Adam? Put all this stuff away for now. 0, 1, and then let's go, maybe we'll do it here. 0.33. I love to talk. And I'll talk and talk and talk and just never ending, just going on endlessly. Yeah, there are some people that like it. I know there are other people that are.
So it's saying.
This looks like we got the circle of death. Yeah, look at that. Adam says the first time seeing me do TA was on Coinigy in 2019. Okay, so I don't know whether you can see this or not. Remember I said earlier I was going to break this move into portions?
Uh-huh.
So let's say we bought that. And of course we're going to risk, I don't know, maybe you came along here and you bought that. We're going to risk to a break of the low. So there's your W, down, up, down, breakout. So we know where we're going to enter. We know we're going to risk to, and we're going to use the AB equals CD as our price objective. And you see that that now represents a 1.7. That's a bit weak. I would ideally like to see a 2-to-1. Maybe we even come in off of this W here. Something along those lines. Anyway, ideally we would like to see a 2-to-1 risk reward, but this is basic. If somebody was going to ask me, what do you think is going to happen here, especially with these W's in the indicators? I think we're going to see something along these lines. So it's still pointing up. So anybody who did buy this, I don't know whether you were able to hang in and endure our YouTube issues. Hopefully we gave you an answer that's somewhat usable on this particular name. But I would say on balance, it does look like this thing is pointing higher. And this is what I would call a bullish bot setup. Actually, what's interesting here, now that you know this, let's see if Joe can answer this. What would Brian call this pattern? Actually, I already given you the answer, so hopefully this should be nice and easy for you.
Right here, going up.
You see the inverted
Yep.
and shoulders pattern. It's kind of cool, eh?
Yeah, I like it.
So, and down the road, if we can get into it, we would actually, this inverted head and shoulders pattern actually paints also a price objective, which eyeballing it looks like it's up in this area too. So you have lots of bullish confluence. It kind of makes sense because if we look at things like Bitcoin and the broader market, actually we have a rule at TRI, keep in mind I sort of teach this program, so it's really my rule. I don't really want to take a trade until I see a W on the other side of this trend line. So remember we said market smiling at you, what should you be thinking? Maybe be a bit cautious.
Yeah.
So the rule is that we want to see a W on the other side of this downtrend line, and that's what this is. And remember we talked about that being a W just a minute ago, and it makes a head and shoulders pattern. So there's lots of bullishness here, I will say. This actually looks quite uppy.
Thank you for whoever suggested this or requested it.
Pardon me?
I was thanking whoever requested this on Twitter.
Yeah, this is a good pick, and hopefully you were able to endure all of the YouTube hiccups.
Yes.
Let's see if I can just do this. Will this just reload the TA default? Maybe I can just redo it because I want to show you all the indicators that I had on here. I think I probably for the next attempted show that we do, I think we probably
load chart layout.
Pardon me?
Try clicking load chart layout.
Yeah, so I do that, and I think it's just because I have so many tabs open. Remember how long it took for the fractal thing to load here? It'll load, but it's gonna take a few minutes. Like I said, did you see how slow the tick moved along the bottom there? So, and if anything, this is
actually
good
like in that bottom.
Oh, see there? So no, it just
you're in the bottom right corner of your screen. It says you're like disconnected. Basically, it's a red dot instead of a green in the bottom of your chart.
Yeah, down here, right? System status. Okay, so I just clicked on the TA default. It might have saved that as I was going along. Yeah, so this must be a problem on my end, I've been all night long blaming you, but I think really this is probably something on my end. That's slow.
If it this one has to be shorter, at least it's the pilot episode that is. It'll be better.
Yeah, well, I mean, the
It's
only
only
way
up
we
from here.
figure out that these problems are here is if we go through this, right?
Exactly.
And then
So
we work through
then
them.
we're a
Maybe this is
well-oiled
half of the
machine.
this is half the reason why we kind of called this a pilot. Like, well, let them do the pilot and let's. Anyway, it's a learning
Yeah.
experience. Okay, come on, you load. Oh, there it is. Look at that. It just went green again. Ah, you see it ticked across there. Come on. Come on. You can do it. You can do it. Hmm. I'm not quite sure what to do. Oh, and YouTube kicked us out again. Now that YouTube kicked us out, I wonder if this thing now loads really fast. Nope. It's also interesting how YouTube won't even let you back up and see the other video. Okay, let's see. Are you back? Are you back? Oh, blue screen of death. But that's not quite the same.
It's not the same shade.
All right, well, I'm just going to hit the refresh. Let's see what happens when I do that. God, imagine if we went through all the symbols. We'd be here like 10 hours.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it's good. Nice getting to know you.
Yeah, likewise. And yeah, I appreciate you sharing all this knowledge and being so open about everything. So honestly, if it's not working with this here, so yeah, it's dying. It wants us to call it, I think, but I don't know. I thought, yeah, I thought that it was good.
Let's see, I'll just kill that all together.
Yeah.
Let's try over here. See if this will load.
Say,
hey, there we go. So maybe there was just too much on that tab or something.
Yeah, looks like our stream's back up.
All right. And I see we got the circle-y circle. I get kicked 20 times.
Yeah.
All right, so the point of the matter here, just finishing this up. Looks like this market's pointing higher. Joe, hopefully got some value out of.
I got a lot of value.
Tutorial here this evening. If anything, you got sort of like a crash course in technical analysis from the Beamish. Oh yeah, look at that! I wiped out my indicators. Darn, yeah. I had a whole bunch of indicators on there.
You must have saved it.
Yeah, but where would it be? Maybe it's over down here. Autosave. Let's see what comes up there. Oh, look at that old chart.
Yeah, that's from.
Oh, that's from a million years ago. Right?
Yeah. 2019.
2019. So I had the. Yeah. Oh well, it doesn't matter. Okay, so I think for the pilot episodes, probably best to leave it at that. We don't want to get frustrated.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was an interesting conversation on a name that Joe is near and dear to his heart. So if anything, hopefully he understands how lucky he was to sail out of his butt there.
but now for what I've learned today, I can take that and use it for another trade. So
well, and that's the cool part about it, right? Is now what should happen, and this is what happens to all students, is if I've done this correctly, you actually can't look at the world the same way ever again.
Mm-hmm.
So by time I get through with you, you won't even be able to talk to your friends and family about investing, because you will see that they will be interested in buying at the top of the market. And at the bottom of the market, they're going to actually be making fun of assets. And ironically enough, you're going to be like, well, I'm in here buying now. What are you doing? Oh, well, you're an idiot for buying that, right? It's just the way the public goes.
Funny, there's like some meme that I saw. It was like there's a line of people at like a stand. It was like Bitcoin $70,000. And then when it was at $16,000, there's just a line of no one.
No,
So
yeah, there's just
no
nobody
one,
there. Yeah.
no one wants to, and I think that sums it up perfectly.
Yeah. So, what I want you to do though is I want you to go and find me names that are making these kind of W's down here, because you can see, look how powerful that move
Yeah.
translated into. I would say we're sort of halfway through this move. And probably the last thing that we'll say here tonight is just remember there is a very old cliche in the market that goes sell in May and walk away.
Okay.
So we are coming up into a seasonal peaking time of year. So seeing this thing pop up top here into that window would make perfect sense. That's basically what markets do. You want to try and play this heading into that? Okay. But just understand that if we start breaking these W's and you've risked a bit of money, you better, man up, lady up, house plant up, whatever you want to call it, and just admit that you were wrong and get the heck out. All right, let the W help you. If the W is broken, then probably best to go into capital preservation mode.
So,
But let's this, and we'll get this thing licked, and we'll get the video nice and happy.
yep, we will. Thank you for everyone that tuned in, and for those who especially stuck with us through it all.
Yeah.
And hey, Cypher's skill got kicked 20 kicking, so we appreciate
Man,
it.
if we can ever get Cypher on here talking about all of his GAN studies,